for Calgary, Forrest Long.
Mr. Speaker, Canada was seen as a country of prosperity. That's why my family came here. Like so many newcomers, we came here with very little, but with hard work, we were able to succeed. Today, that dream for so many newcomers and citizens has gone up in smoke because of Liberals' mismanagement on the economy. 40-year highs in grocery prices. Home prices have doubled under this Prime Minister, and now mortgages cost Canadians 64% of their income. And the Liberals plan on piling on even more pain. Will the Liberals stop their inflationary spending and stop driving up the costs on gas, groceries, and home heating?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And we have shown that we are there for Canadians, particularly vulnerable Canadians. And I'd like to start off by saying that the Conservatives voted against a dental benefit that is becoming available to Canadian parents today. Today, Canadian parents can apply for $650 in support per child. There is also the Canada Workers Benefit, which is already benefiting Canadian workers across the country, and in 10 days' time, you'll be able to apply for the rental benefit. Mr. Speaker, we're there for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Forrest Long.
Mr. Speaker, that member is clueless. She knows a vast majority of Canadians won't see a penny of those announcements. But what they will see is Liberals' reckless spending will cost each Canadian $3,500, according to the Governor of the Bank of Canada. They'll continue seeing their home heating costs soar because this leave it in the ground Liberal government cancelled pipelines across the country. This Liberals' greed knows no bounds, and they'll continue to charge Canadians even more. Why won't the Liberals stop their reckless spending, get off the backs of Canadians, and axe their failed carbon tax?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I know that I'm successfully countering the disinformation on the other side when they insult me. But today, Mr. Speaker, Canadian families are going to be able to apply for the dental benefit. And we will continue supporting vulnerable Canadians while ensuring that Canada maintains the lowest deficit and the lowest debt of all the G7 countries. We have been extremely fiscally responsible, and the triple credit and the AAA credit rating proves it, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Mr. Speaker, a new Ipsos poll showed that 26% of Canadians say that they will be accessing charitable services over the next 6 months for basic essentials like food, clothing, and shelter. The survey also says that 25% of Canadians will be donating less to charities, and they cite the biggest reason being the increase in inflation and the effects of their personal finances. And yet, this Liberal government continues to make it worse by increasing their taxes. So when will the Liberals stop their forced carbon tax on people and stop charging them for the...
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we understand how challenging life is for Canadians right now. And as my colleague mentioned, we've been putting forward significant benefits to help them, whether it's the Canada Child Benefit, the dental benefit, which is accessible today, or the increase of the Canada's Workers Benefit. And as of next week, low-income renters can also access benefits. So, Mr. Speaker, we've been there and we continue to be there for Canadians at every single stage of their life. Unfortunately, I can't say the same across the way for my colleagues opposite. The Conservatives keep voting against supporting Canadians each time. If they'd like to...
The Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there is an obvious disconnect between the Liberals and what people are actually going through. $3,500 a year is what the Governor of the Bank of Canada said the average Canadian will be paying more because of inflation. Wow. That represents $14,000 for the average family of four. No wonder more people are saying that they'll be accessing charitable services. No wonder more people are saying that they'll be donating less. And yet the Liberals continue to make things worse by charging more people on their taxes. So again, will the Liberals stop forcing their failed carbon tax on Canadians?
Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind the member opposite that, Canadians, even if they are having a tough time, are seeing that around the world, the global economic instability is in fact causing inflation inflation to be much higher elsewhere. Higher inflation among our peers is what they are seeing around the world, and we are continuing to invest in order to support vulnerable Canadians. I'd also like to remind the member that it is the policy of our government that lifted over 2 million Canadians, including 450,000 children, out of poverty, Mr. Speaker. So when she talks about her concern for children and for families, her voting record should prove it.
The
Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, Canadian families' finances are under pressure while the governments are outrageously flush. And so we have one easy step to solve the problem, not increasing the carbon tax. Canada's the only G7 country to have raised gas taxes in the midst of a global energy crisis. Will this government finally agree to our demand and follow suit with the other G7 countries? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, rather. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I have good news for my colleague. The carbon tax doesn't apply in Quebec, and Quebecers agree that there's a need to deal